I don't know if you guys could go that far back, but sounds a little bit, or reminds me a little bit of the Johnny Carson type music when the show starts, right, hon?
Yeah.
How you doing today?
All right. Actually, my allergies are bugging me.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. Yeah.
My eyes, my nose.
To the point of you're sneezing so much, I want to punch you in the face, but
The thing
no,
is,
I'm just kidding.
I can't take something because it'll make me drowsy during the
yeah.
day. So
That's all right. No worries.
I gotta function.
You're good to go. You look great tonight, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. It's
Thank
harder
you,
to get
so
sex
do.
as you get older, boys, in those marriages, let me tell you. Not like the old days.
Oh my goodness.
My goodness is right. Sometimes, you know, just don't have too much hair to pull out either anymore. But anyway. All right. So, guys, welcome to the show tonight. I am super excited. Super excited because we got a legend on the show tonight. That's right, a legend. We got Billy the Greek Lagakis. What better guy than to sit back and hear a good story? I don't think any of his stories are past really to the 5 to 8 minute marks. But when you're done, you get a good story and a good laugh out of it, let me tell you. And there's always a lesson to be learned in those stories. And I'm pretty sure he's going to have a few more of those for us today. But this, you know, Billy the Greek's been on quite a few times already since I started the show. Just about 5 years. Come this June, we've never missed a Sunday. Let's go, baby! Woo! I've always been known to be a little excited. So I don't fish on the weekends. I haven't fished this weekend. Hasn't been good out there at all this weekend as far as fishing. But towards the end of April, here in the area I'm at the Hudson, there's always a little bit of a slowdown. And all of a sudden, boom, it's back on. Now we're going to soon start to think differently. Rather than coming, we're going to be actually expecting them to come back. As soon as that big sex party happens up in Troy, New York. That's right. That's where most of them are going to spawn. As soon as that sex party's over, let me tell you, we're waiting for them at the pier, that's for sure. And a lot of different areas in the Hudson. It's just been good. Up and down the Hudson, I've heard nothing but good news. The fishermen who are out there fishing on a daily basis, you know, 5 out of the 7 days of the week, I would consider pretty much every day. Those guys are catching fish here and there, but nobody said that you're going to drop in your line, you're going to catch a fish, okay? Got to work with these fish. A lot of these guys are posting these bigger fish. What do you think? They're going out and getting a big fish every time? All right, maybe one of yous are, Billy. But the rest of us, we have to make sure that we make do by putting our time in. So welcome to the show today, guys. Super excited. Billy the Greek Lagakis. We got a nice little giveaway on his honor there. So I'll show you the giveaway really quick.
Whoa.
Is that right? We're in.
And the music's on.
There we go. No, yeah, that's the one. Let's get back to the music. So put the overhead on, honey. Oh, no, wait.
Love the overhead.
There we go.
And you gotta zoom in on it.
Yes, I'll do it. I want to do it. There we go. Let me zoom in a little. All right, guys, so that's today's giveaways. Not one, not two, but 3 lures today. So we got the Outcast lures, the pencil popper. That's the fat bottom. That's the one I use for my competition for the longest yards. They sponsor that for me. This is the 2 ounce. I have the 3 ounce, which is used at my competition. But this is a nice little plug. You can put it out there. Trust me. They're Outcast lures. Great company. Also, we got Larson lures here. It's a beautiful glider. I bought these at the show. Thanks to Scott Lawson for making such a great product. Really, the guy does fantastic. He's also sponsored my tournaments in the past. Outcast lures, we got another one here. We got a beautiful metal lip. This one's 3 ounce. It's masqueraded like a mackerel. Super stuff. Nice colors here. for all parts of the days should be a good collection to add. At the end of the show, we'll give those away. You guys know how it works. Go to my Instagram account. You guys have been there. You go to the latest reel, which is advertising the giveaway. You just tag 3 people. Make sure you're over the age of 18. And also be a legal resident of this country. I back that for sure. And everything will be just fine. But thanks for everybody for showing up today. Again, Billy the Gackus. What else did I want to mention? My buddy Nick, fisherman out there. Big kudos to him. We fished all day the other day for 14 hours. It was kind of rough. We were fishing the freshest bunker, that slurry, slurpy, delicious slime, I should call it, which is the most important thing, guys. When you're out there, every professional bait fisherman will tell you fresh bait. That doesn't mean it's frozen and then unfrozen. When I get fresh bait, I get in touch. Jack's Bait and Tackle. When is your boat coming in? It's coming in at 6 a.m. I'm there 5:30. I'm online. I'm waiting. Fresh bunker comes off. I take it in the bag they give me, in the plastic. And then I put that plastic in ice in my cooler. It's stuffed in ice. But the bunker never comes in contact with the ice, which helps wash away the slime, which is what we love on bunker, which is what big fish love on bunker. This is a fresh piece of meat. Let's go. You can have a Yankee Stadium hot dog, and you can have prime beef, baby. Right from the supermarket, made at home. You're going prime beef. And that's what the striped bass looks for also. I can tell you it's one thing, though. There's going to be a guest on tonight that could tell you about 30 to 40 more things than me on how to catch those whopping big fish. So what else did we want to say tonight, honey? I got to run my nose. I think I got the...
You got a what? You have allergies too?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Hold on a second.
Yeah,
Let me get you something.
Yeah, go get me something because the snot's going to end up hitting the screen and it's not going to look too good.
Everybody's going to love that.
Yeah, they're going to love that, all right. So while she's getting what we need, guys, I'm going to say hello to some people. Carl Newman, how you doing, buddy? And Tiger Laws, Tony, smash that like button. I love that. Do help me, guys. Give me the tissue, honey. Oh, God, I needed this so bad. Could you have gotten a smaller one in the house? You know, tissue papers aren't what they used to be. I use one, I blow it once, and the thing is soaked. I can't, I gotta stop. I gotta use 3, 4 of those damn things. So I just go straight for the kitchen towels. I think they're great. I don't care if they make my nose a little rough on the bottom. But man, they can hold the snot. You know what I mean? Those little tissues suck. Anyway, other than that, what we saying, honey?
We're saying hi to everybody.
Yeah, I was gonna say hi to everybody. Willie J, how you doing, buddy? Wormway, James Flynn, Brian Harding, thank you, Mr. and Mrs. P. Consistently the best surf fishing content. Thank you so much, buddy.
Thank you so much.
Brian, you're very nice to us every week. God bless you. At Point Surf Casting, it's all steak now, baby. Let's go, let's go. Screw that chicken. Woo!
And G's like, use a rag.
Yeah, use a rag. I know, he's right.
A little towel.
That's how they were in the old days. Just have it in their back pocket.
Yeah, yeah. The old school hanky,
Yeah,
like Liberty
that's
or
it.
Death says.
Henry Lacrosse. How you doing, buddy? Jay Pelletier. What's up, buddy? Harry Brown. Harry, how you doing, buddy? We're getting ready for your trip. Coming up this Tuesday, we'll be on Magoo Charters. Me, my wife, gonna have on Rick won one of those tickets and Chris Ploth won the other one. So we'll be all on the boat this coming Tuesday. Can't wait for that trip. We're gonna do more. We also did another giveaway with 3 other seats. We'll be on, who's the charter there? Calvin?
Oh, FTA.
Yeah, FTA, that's right. No, yeah, FTA, Fishing the Atlantic. You got it. We got a trip set up with him coming up June 13th, I think that is. So just good stuff coming up. Delco Joe, what's all, buddy? False, he's still a chicken head. Delco Joe, let's go, let's go. Outcast One, what's up, buddy? I'll be seeing you soon enough. June's just around the corner, maybe earlier. James Flynn, how you doing? Tony Masters. Billy the Massa, awesome person. Hey, grab this, huh? Think we're gonna have to. Go ahead. I hope he doesn't. Go ahead. All right. Anyway, let me keep going. Tony Masters. We got Brock 308. What's up, buddy? Met him there that day at the show with his kids. Good guy, Brock. Thank you for that donation, buddy. That I won't ever forget.
Hi, Mike Kish also. Happy Sunday, Mr. and Mrs. B.
Liberty or death. Let's go. Let's go. Hey, yo. Mike Kish, how you doing? Antagonize the laws. We said hello. And G, what's going on, buddy? Use a rag, no doubt. Liberty or death. Thattugisthedrug. That's right, Buggy. Let's go. That tug is the drug. That's right. Wormway. Nicholas Gaines, how you doing? All right, so let's start the show. Let's get our man Billy on. Any last things we want to say, honey? Anything?
Yes, that's it. How's your
Yeah, we'll see you, Harry. See you on the trip. That should be a lot of fun. I can't wait for that.
Any update on your Montauk Striper Challenge of
The Montauk Striper Challenge, guys. So we are down to 4 boxes left. It's all you got left.
Nice.
It's my 5th annual coming up this year, October 16th, 17th, and 18th. It's going to be a great time. Make your reservations now. Superb time. The prizes are outstanding. I'm up to $60,000 in cash and prizes, which is quite amazing. There'll be 20 winners. It's going to be wonderful this year. I cannot wait for it. Outfitters. What's up, Mr. and Mrs. P? Sorry I'm late, but better late than never. That's right, buddy. Let's go. Mike Mullen. Yo, good to see you too, brother. How you doing? Let's go, let's go. So how do we make it on this channel? We make it through small donations. You guys can become members. It's $3 a month. That's all it is. We might start up something new where you get something like a sweatshirt and things like that. We've been talking about that, but we'll see. These challenges are a lot to put together. So, again, going back to Brian Harding, thank you for that donation, Brian. Very nice. But we do live on donations, guys, and every penny will go to these challenges coming up because I need the money to make these work. I do not make any money. Everything goes back to you guys double fold, meaning money out of my pocket every single year I've done it, and I don't think that's going to change this year either. I just keep upping the prizes, making sure that you guys have the best competition that you can be in as a surf fisherman out there. All right, let's go, let's go. Let's get to our man, Billy the Greek Lagakis. Honey, you want to introduce him?
He needs no introduction. Billy the Greek, welcome. Welcome to Let's Talk Fishing.
All right, we got to work
Mr.
on that
Poseidon.
introduction, honey. It should be like...
No.
Billy the Greek Lagakis, let's welcome him to the Mr.
There you go.
Poseidon live stream.
You got it.
Billy, what's up, my brother?
How are you, Ara?
Fantastic. So fantastic. Good to see you, Billy. Always a pleasure, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Billy, we were talking, here in the Hudson, our season is well involved, or it's been going now for the last few weeks. And I want to talk about a little bit about your area, what's coming up on the new year, and what's going on right now. I'm hearing that the candle has been lit with this little fire we had from the sun. Tell me about it.
It actually has. That's exactly what happened. A week ago or so, I was talking to some of the guys, and they were complaining because the water was cold. There were no fish here. You really had to work to get a little fish.
Sure.
And I was telling them, I said, we need 2 days of sun. This will open right up. And boy, we got 2 days of sun. The whole world opened up.
Let me tell you.
The beaches came alive. We have bluefish. We have bass. One of my buddies had nice weak fish in the like 4 to 6 pound class. He had a few of them, not just one.
Yeah.
But a lot of bait came into the bay. The ocean lit up. The bridges are full of fish.
Yeah.
It's like the whole world came alive.
And a lot of women wearing a little less clothes walking the beaches early in the morning. But let's not talk about that. We're here to talk about the striped bass.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on. The world woke up, and the water temperature went up 4 degrees in 3 days. And that's one of the reasons this all woke up.
Yeah. Yeah, Billy.
So,
no doubt. I know today, Billy, with all the wind, we're having high winds today. I think up to 25, 30 miles an hour, especially down by the river on the pier there. I went down there. The waters were super muddy. You could see the water was brown. Remember, we're dealing with a river with banks. A little wind stirs up that bottom, which really isn't that deep to begin with over there.
yeah.
And it turns brown, and that isn't one of the favorite things of stripers. And I'm not saying that you can't catch them on that. Obviously, you can put Billy in a pool that you just put up yesterday and filled it up with chlorine water, and he'll pull a striper out of there. But not all of us
Listen,
can do that.
there's always a silver lining, right? So when the water's dirty and murky and the fish don't feed as good, the instant it clears up, if you're out there, you catch more fish because they're hungry and they're ready to feed. And that's a good thing. So the guys that are waiting for that to clear up a little will do well if they get there, when it changes over. And we're coming off a moon. So, that new moon today, this will move a body of fish. So if there were no fish, there might be more fish tomorrow, Moons move the fish, good or bad. But they're going to move the fish, and that's what we're waiting for. More and more fish move in every day, So we should be good. But I was thinking about, coming on your show, and I was thinking about stuff.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the new fishermen today, I talked to them, and a lot of them, they don't have really big fish, and there's not a lot of, the numbers of giant fish are getting harder, But I think one of the bigger problems is that most of the new breed of fishermen, they fish for little fish. They don't even realize it. They actually fish for little fish because they're using similar stuff, all the time, and light gear. So if you want a big fish, like at the end of the year, I guess, to put it in the right perspective, I talked to a lot of the surf clubs here on the island. The days of catching 40 and 50-pound fish are pretty much over. There's only a handful. So at the end of the year, the big fish are always in the 36 to 39-pound class, a lot. A few bigger here and there, not too many. But I think a lot of guys, when that happens, they stop putting the time in to fish for big fish. And you don't need to just fish. Like I fish for just big fish predominantly, but you got to put a lot of time in, and I have the time to do it, thank God. I can fish 7 days a week. But for guys that can only fish a couple of days here and there, you really could use a good formula to try to catch a bigger fish. So at the end of the year, if you caught 120-pound fish, no one really cares. If you caught a 45 or a 50-pound fish, it means something, So there's times when you're in a body of small fish, you got to constantly change over and see if you can fish a bigger bait or a different technique. Just don't do the same, move to the edge of where you're catching all those little fish. Maybe there's a bigger one, but you can't do the same thing over and over again and expect to get a big fish. Then you're just lucky, and that's not a good scenario. But if you're fishing a lot, and you go out, if you're on a bite with 8 or 9 or 10, say slot fish, how many do you want to catch? Try something else. You got nothing to lose. And I don't think a lot of guys do that anymore. I've watched guys stay cast after cast catching the same size fish. It's like, how many you want to catch that size? Give it a shot for something bigger. Get brave.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Billy, I will tell you one thing that you have taught me, and I'm not going to give just you the credit, but any big fish hunter will always tell you about your gear being number one. And it's not just about going out and buying the best stuff. It's about setting yourself up correctly, such as finding these big fish. A lot of you guys out there, you're listening to Billy the Greek. He's telling you stories, catching big fish. Probably the ultimate guy who has caught, I don't know anybody else who's caught more 60-pounders than he has. Regardless of catching them on the boats, bridges, or on the beaches, he's caught the most 60-pounders, period. But they all will tell you the same thing. You got to be ready. I see guys, and I don't tell guys what to do. I'm not Billy the Greek. I can't really go up to them and talk to them and say, well, who the bleep are you, Mr. Poseidon? So I don't do that. I just try to help. And one thing that you have taught me, Billy, especially bait fishing here in the Hudson, I used to use smaller hooks. I used to use 6. You know, I would think that a 6.0 hook is big. But there was a gentleman I met, and he was telling me the same thing, you know, big hooks, big hooks. So when I actually thought about it, and now I carry hooks that are 10, 11s, and 12.0s, which are big. But remember, I should have brought one up with me, but a big hook on a 12 is, you know, I'm even going bigger with my fingers. I don't care how big I go with my fingers, because then when a big fish, a big striped bass comes up, look at the mouth compared to it. I mean, it swallows that and 2 large-sized bunker together with it on a big bass. So you always have to get that out of your mind. And I've taught quite a few people, and now they fish with big hooks. Along with big hooks, don't show up with 10-pound leader. You're not Billy the Greek who's going to sit back and haul in a 50-pound fish on 10-pound line. That takes absolute practice and over again, and I don't know how you're going to get practice if we can't even catch 150. So basically, use heavy leader. You know, people say 50, 60, 70. I mean, I go up to 80. I got stuck on the Bill Logic, and that's Bill Wetzel's always taught me 80-pound leader. It's not a bad thing. Make your own snell hook, put it on there. I got a nice 80-pound shock leader. It's not breaking that, and if that hits a rock, it's going to be able to take some abuse. Remember, you got a 50-pound fish, guys. You're never going to know what it feels like until you really got one on. I catch 30-pound fish, and I'm like, holy cow, I'm thinking I'm bringing in a 50. Not even close. 20 pounds off. So having an 80-pound leader will help you out. Scratch, abrasions. It'll last through a good fight with that. It might even make it. And then what kind of braided line are you using? You're going for big fish. I like using 40 and 50-pound braid, period. You know, 50-pound braid, if you're lucky and it scrapes up against the rock and you're fighting a 50-pound fish, I don't think you're going to make it because that little abrasion is going to snap the line. But we use these braided lines now to get distance more. They are stronger as long as they're not hitting the rocks. But again, getting back, make sure you have yourself a nice swivel hook. Going from the shock leader to your braided line allows it to spin and not tangle up. And a good amount of weight. That's going to be decided by you, where you're fishing, the current, and what are you using it with? We're using it with worms, or using it with bunker, shrimp. Everything's different. So that's got to be decided by you. And you as a fisherman, you have to know those simple little things. But other than that, that's my idea of how I follow these guys. Billy's always told me, your gear's number one. Make sure you're ready to catch that 50-pound fish. So if you're ready, do the right thing. Don't go showing up with tiny little hooks, because a 50-pounder gets hooked with that tiny hook. The chances are you're not going to come back with that 50-pounder. So do the right thing. Use the right equipment. I've always have. And I've just upped my game a little bit more listening to these guys. Let's get back to Billy.
Yeah.
Billy, tell me a little bit about what I said, Billy. Did I say it all right?
Let me just polish up a little about what you said.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Because I fish, first of all, I fish exclusively 80 minimum on my leader. And for the people that don't understand, because we're living in a new generation of spinning reels, bass couldn't care less how much your leader is. It could be 150. If you have bait, they don't care about your leader. The only thing heavy line does is it'll impact a lure. It might impact the lure's action, but on bait, not a chance. If I was fishing braid, I would fish 65 minimum with 80-pound test leader. Because the whole idea, I've said it my whole life, I've said it on your show, in my book, I don't have fish stories. Hook them, land them, end of story. I'm not losing nothing. You know, I mean, you can hook a fish and lose them on the hook set sometimes, but once you have him hooked, there are no excuses to lose a big fish. And most guys are fishing too light. There's not a time. There's times I cut my knot back every single cast, and definitely after any big fish, I retie completely. So I do everything I can so there's no mistakes when you hook a big fish. It's also a confidence thing. Like think in your mind, I'm fishing an 11.5-foot graphite MH blank with a 344 Newell, 50 mono, 80-pound leader. I can water ski a 40-pound bass on that outfit. I'm not looking for 25 and 30-pound fish. I'm looking for a big fish. And when I land them in my mind, I have the confidence that I'm not even worried about this fish, losing, breaking them off. There's nothing going wrong. I'm hooking them, I'm landing them, I'm taking a picture, I'm letting them go, end of story. And it really is that easy if you gear yourself to fish like that. You know, like fishing a 150 Van Stol with 30, you're not fishing for big fish seriously. Can you land one? Yeah, maybe. Have you ever caught one on that? I couldn't tell you. So, you know, do you want to catch your first 55-pound fish on that outfit? I don't. You know, if you do, you got to fight them and hope you land them. But there's times where you need to put in time for one big fish if that's what you're interested in. And like when I'm on your show, I'm a big fish fisherman. That's what I do. If it's big and it swims, I want to hook it, land it, take a picture. So for the guys that are interested in that type of thing, you need to put a little time in to look for a fish of size. You caught enough small fish, get a big fish. Like if you want a real big fish, you need to fish around the moons exclusively. Put
Absolutely.
your time in. It's in a 7-day span. That's 3 days before a moon, 3 or 4 days after the moon. It can go a little longer either way. But if you got the time to put in around those times, fish for big fish. You can catch a small fish anytime, but you can't catch a big fish anytime. And over the years, if I go through my records, the majority of my fish that are over 50 pounds all came in that time slot. That 3 days before, 3 or 4 days after a moon, full moon or new moon. And it depends where you fish. Like my area, we prefer the new moon much better. Montauk and some of the deeper water and stuff, full moon's just as good. But you got to know your area a little bit. But you really got to put your time in around those periods if you're looking for a really big fish. Because otherwise, I don't fish by chance. I don't just go out and hope I get lucky, hope I find. I'm looking for certain things. Now, obviously, we don't have the time to go through this entire scenario of what big fish do, but there's certain scenarios that matter. So the moon matters, the wind matters. So in your area, there'll be a wind that produces much bigger fish on a consistent basis. Also, the bait pattern. And people get lost in bait pattern. What I mean by that is everyone's like bunker, 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 sand eels, sand eels. There's a million little bait fish on the bottom that you probably don't even know exist, you know, and the bass know way better than we'll ever know. When I was younger in late June, the flounder would leave the bays and those big bass were on them all the time. Now we don't have a lot of flounder, but there's a million other. There's blackfish, there's porgies, there's all kinds of, there's lizard fish, there's Lafayette's, there's squid, there's a million bait patterns. You need to learn these patterns and when they're in your area and when they're in your area numbered. Because like when you have a spawn, like one year in the bay, we had a spawn of little kingfish, there was millions of them and the bass were right on them. And you need to find all this out. That's putting in your time and learning. And you can't learn everything. But like that's why sometimes some guys are good with, they want to join a club, they can learn, you know, or you have a couple of buddies that fish, you can find out. But it's up to you ultimately to figure certain things out, you know, and you need the time to do that. Like if you can only fish a day a week, your chance of catching a really big fish are tough. So
I got a question.
Get lucky.
Question coming in for you, Billy. This one's coming from Wombat. What's up, Wombat? How you doing? Welcome back to the live stream. Billy, what would you say is more important, the moon or the location? I legit don't play into the moon at all, so I'm curious.
Well, it depends where you're fishing. A moon moves fish, so they're more active. The water moves harder, which makes the feeding of a big fish much easier. The harder, if you look at a striped bass design, they're designed for hard-moving water. And you'll find almost all big fish are caught in that type of water. Now, obviously, in different areas, like if you go down south a little more on some of the mud flats on the rivers, they don't have that scenario. You have some places where there's structure that hold fish, big fish, like consistently. That's a local event for local people. And what I mean by that is all of us that fish hard and catch big fish, we have little pieces that produce no matter what the tide of the moon. You just know the piece, you know the fish are there. But I'm talking in general talk for the general public, because none of us are going to give all our secrets away or our knowledge. We're trying to help beginners and intermediates to catch a bigger fish than they would normally catch just going fishing. So they need to, whatever time they have, they need to concentrate a little more on the moon phases, because the water, they have way better chance. You know, if you're a guy that fishes 7 days a week and fishes hard, you might have spots that produce that have nothing to do with that. But that's more the exception than the rule. And the average guy that only has a day or two to fish at the most, he can't apply that to him. So if you're fishing an area where you consistently caught big fish, and I've had that. I've had areas where we go and catch big fish all the time. It's just off, you know, it's not every day, obviously, but they're consistently big fish are on those pieces. But the moon will really help. Like if there are no fish and there's a moon, all striped bass move by the moon, period. They come and go by the moon. So if you get an influx of a big body of fish, it came there on the moon with the tide. It's as simple as that. So for the average bass fisherman that wants to learn this, that's when he needs to put his time in. And then local areas make a difference, no matter where you fish. Like there's certain areas where the outgoing tide always catches the most fish. Other areas, it's this stage of the tide or that stage of the tide. But that's up to you to figure out. And that's part of the fun of this game. You know, like a lot of guys would say, like when we were younger, we traveled more. But as you get older, you realize there's plenty of fish in your area. You just need to find them. And over the years, I've proved consistently that I have caught really big fish in my backyard because I know it like the back of my hand. I know it very well. So for me to run out to Block Island and hope I can catch a big fish because they were there last year in August doesn't mean they'll be there this year. You know, if I knew someone out there, they'd say, Bill, come on out. That's different. And I don't really like doing that because that's not my fish, that's their fish. So I'm catching someone else's fish that I didn't work for, and that's not my cup of tea. Like there is no bigger smile on my face than when I fool a 50 or 60 pound bass all by myself with no one around. That's the greatest feeling in the world. That smile don't come off your face for a week.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Billy. Longer than a week for me, probably the rest of my life, Billy. I'll get a good night's sleep every night for the rest of my life from here on in. Also wanted to mention Ronnie M. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you back. Ronnie M. last year's winner at the Piedmont Challenge. We didn't do that this year, and I don't think I'm ever going to do it again because it just got too packed with people. It was packed last year, and there's no way it would fit the amount if I did it again this year. But Ronnie had won last year's Piedmont Challenge. He back-to-back 41 and 42-inch striped bass. On what bait? I'll let him tell you that. Other than that, he won that competition. Congratulations, Ronnie. Good to see you on the show again, buddy.
Here is a question for Billy. It says from Real Talk. Question for Billy. What wind, and kind of maybe mention, what wind and tide patterns do you prefer in the spring as opposed to the fall? What area is your main focus in the spring?
That's a good question. Okay. So when we come into the spring, we're going to presume that the water's cold. So you want shallow water will heat up with the sun faster. So you're looking for shallower water, preferably mud, which warms up much faster. So the scenario would become an outgoing tide would produce fish better than an incoming tide, because once that water warms up and that shallow water pulls out further, it warms up the rest of the water quicker. So if you have deep water access to shallow water that warmed up, the deep water will warm up, and only a few degrees can make all the difference in the world. When you get into the fall, it can change. Like late in the year, the bay inside gets very cold in shallow water, and the top of the incoming is actually warmer than the bottom of the outgoing, because all that cold water gets flushed into the same spot that the warm water did. So it kind of reverses. And I've caught a lot of very big fish on incoming in the fall, and nobody fishes it. It's an amazing thing to see. So the bottom line is a real simple one. It's water temperature. So we were talking before this started, and I have a site I go to that actually shows you the real-time water temperature in the areas, and it's by the minute. So, for arguments, last week, nowhere in my area was the water warmer than 48 degrees, and that's for me too cold. That sun came out. In 2 days, that water went 50, 51. That's a 3 and 4 degree swing. In some of the bay, it was a 5 degree swing. That's more than enough to spike the fish to start feeding. It's just like us as humans, when it's cold and you go out and it's 25 degrees and snowy. When it goes to 35, you can go out in a t-shirt and a sweater because, even though it's cold, it's way warmer than it was. Your comfort zone's there. And the fish are exactly the same way. So I'm big on water temperature. I don't fish very cold water. Even though the fish are there, they're more lethargic. They're way harder to catch on a lure. You have a better chance catching them on bait. But the cold water makes these fish a little more lethargic and less serious to hunt. So you're always better in this time in the spring if you can find warmer water. Now, it don't have to be hot, just warmer. And 3 or 4 or 5 degrees can make a world of difference. So for arguments, if you're on the South Shore and you're over by an area where the water's 25, 30 feet deep, and you're having there's fish you're marking them, you can't catch them, say, on a boat, and then you go to the North Shore and there's a mud flat that at low tide is 2 inches of water and high tide is 2 feet, that area is going to produce fish way faster because that warm water is flushing out and not only for the striped bass, for the bait. So all the bait's going to be there because of the water temperature. So every living creature has a comfort zone that they prefer. And when the fish find their comfort zone, they're more apt to feed heavily. They're easy to catch.
Absolutely.
I hope that answered your question.
I think that's always a good response. As long as it's coming from Billy the Greek, it's very trustworthy. We can definitely talk about that or definitely believe in that. Guys.
There's another one here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we have MP33123. Question for Billy from Nabisco Mike. What is your favorite presentation in dirty water?
Wow. There you go.
Well, are we talking bait or lures? So anything in dirty water, my color preference would be in the chartreuse yellow area because it shows up better. And I don't know if you're talking day or night, so things matter. But presentation would be in that color zone. That's good. That's a nice lure. And slower is always better, And vibration's good in murky water too, because the fish feel that. So anything that can do that, and you can reel slower is better in murky water, almost as a rule. If you're fishing bait is, I would prefer, like, you can catch plenty of fish in murky water on bait, but I would prefer a bait that gives off a slime and a scent. And I would reel it in every 2 or 3 minutes and rebait every 5, 8, 10 minutes so that I make a kind of chum slick of scent in the water, because fish will smell that down tide and come looking for the food. Whereas if you just leave it in the same spot and it gets washed out, that's not as good. So if in murky water, I would change my bait like way more than normal. Sometimes it's worth it. Just leave it 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, reel it back in, change it, put a new piece. You do that 3 or 4 or 5 times, you've created a small slick in the water that if there's a fish in the area, he'll come searching for it. Because they can feed fine in murky water. They actually don't like silty water where there's like sand beat up in the water more than the color of the water. Like a lot of times if the surf gets beat up too much and there's a lot of sand suspended in the water column, it's not as good for them. But murky water, you catch plenty of fish in murky water.
Absolutely, hun. I'll take care of that one. So Tony Masters, his question: how do you entice fish in the middle of an adult bunker piles? ? I love the treble hook snag and wait for the bite. Any other general recommendations?
Sure. Bass spend 90% of their life on the bottom. For every big fish you caught on top, you'll catch way more on the bottom. So you can fish around the school, in the school, or on the bottom of the school. Now, there's a few techniques which I won't get into here because then everybody will know. But if you're fishing the way you're fishing, snagging, dropping, that'll work to a percent. snag and drop some to the bottom too, because there's way more fish there than on top. If you really think about it, the fish have to be actively feeding on the bunker school on top to catch them. Your job, figure out where they are when they're not actively feeding on the bunker school. Because I'll tell you right now, they're not that far away.
Nice.
And here's John 713. Do you fish the day of the new moon or days after?
I fish the whole thing. I fish 3 days before and 4 days after. As a rule, almost the actual day of the moon on any moon isn't usually as good. Usually the second day before the moon to the first, that's good. And the next 3 after is good. But, you know, that's just a general rule of thumb. And all of us have broken the rule all the time. You know, there's times where, because who knows what the weather pattern is. You might have a really nasty second day before the moon and a really good day on the moon. And if they couldn't feed good on the second day, they'll feed on the moon. So, you know, that you gotta, part of being a really good fisherman is adjusting every minute of every day. If you do the same thing the rest of the world does, you'll catch what the rest of the world catches. And it's as simple as that. Because 10% of us catch 90% of the fish, and we always will. All the guys in the upper level catch the most fish because they constantly adjust and figure it out. There's no such thing in our world as do one thing all the time and it works. The tiniest change can make, any bucktail fisherman will tell you, changing a bucktail a quarter ounce can make all the difference, or cutting a pork rind down, or putting a twisted tail on. There's a million scenarios, but if you're the type of person that just does one thing and sticks to it, you'll only catch fish when that one thing works, and it's not all the time. So if you can keep an open mind and adjust all the time, you'll do much, much better. And don't be scared to do out of the box things, because they're fish and we're humans. We're never going to be smart enough to know everything a fish does or thinks. And if you think you know that much, you probably should be fishing in fresh water for sunfish.
No doubt about it. Billy, you're the man, Billy. Love you, Billy. Every time you come on the show, we're learning something different. It's intriguing every time you speak, and I can assure you it is definitely not boring. So, Billy, what's going on now? You're getting ready to start your season here. I know you were telling me a little bit about the bridges, if you want to just let guys know, well, you know, how you see fish when they first arrive.
Yeah, well, we're not allowed to fish the bridges anymore, so we have to sneak up there. Yeah. But when you go, I check the bridges in the spring every day almost, or every couple of days, to see what's there, because they'll tell you what. A lot of big fish enter the bay in the spring. A lot of people stay in the ocean. You know, years ago, a lot of the old timers would fish all the marshes in the back bays early, because a lot of big fish come into the back very early, and a lot of people don't know about that, you know. So the bridges really show you what's in your area, because they show up because it's such a great structure feeding zone. Oh, you know what? I almost forgot, Eric. Yeah. While I'm here, I might as my friend Rich Troxler, who calls himself Rich Trox online, decided to write a book, and I'm going to be one of the main characters in it about bridge fishing.
Nice.
So, yeah. So we haven't named it yet. I've been talking to him at night about the book. So as we advance and get further into it, I'll tell you more and more, and you can announce it on the show.
Fantastic.
I'll give you a first copy on me.
Wow. That is something else. I would love that, Billy. Yeah. No doubt about it. Billy the Greek coming through again.
You can't give it away on your show. It's just
no, it won't be given away. Not that one. Probably one of the few things that I've ever kept. I do give away just about everything. Guys, again, I want to talk a little bit about the Montauk Striper Challenge. It's going to be happening in just about 6 months, October 16, 17, 18. It's a 3-day adventure. When I say adventure, it truly is. We're going to start out with 100 bonus boxes. Second day, we're going to have the longest and most accurate cast. The start of the females' treasure hunt, which they will be paired off for the competition, and each girl wins $500 gift certificates to Sephora. And also every store that they stop in, they get little trinkets, which me and the wife have bought beforehand. So should be lots of fun for them. The third day, cultivating into the awards night, which will be held at Shagwan Tavern. Just a great place. Everybody gets a drink and an appetizer. To everybody who's joined, gets a drink and an appetizer. Don't worry. If you're bringing your lady friends, we will take care of that also. This year, we might have to just shut down the whole thing, and my wife is looking at me like she's going to kill me right now. What do you want me to do? Charge them over there? Come on. So basically, yeah, we're going to run it again, and then we're having our first annual about a month later, 3 weeks later, November, what is it, 13th, 14th, 15th over there? November 13th, 14th, 15th, my first annual Piedmont Striper Challenge.
No, Jersey.
Jersey Striper Challenge. That's right. Sorry, Jersey guys. But it's going to be a fantastic time. We already have people joining that competition. And Montauk, you only have 4 bonus boxes left. If you're planning on coming, those bonus boxes will be worth a ton this year, probably more than any other bonus boxes you've ever gotten before. Also, there'll be a Van Stall 200 and a Van Stall 7-inch titanium plier in one of those 100 boxes, separate, each prize. The Van Stall plier and the Van Stall 200 SXXU Series reel. And obviously in the box, Great American Lures from many of the makers. One being on here tonight, Tony and Tigerizer Lures. Let's go, let's go. Beast River Fishing. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. He's got a question for you, Billy. Question for Billy. How can we tell the difference between a Hudson River striped bass and a Chesapeake's bass? Good question,
That's a good
Billy.
question.
Yeah.
You know, years ago, when I fished the Hudson 40 years ago, we used to fish up by Saugerties, which was a pretty interesting place. But I've noticed over the years that the Hudson River fish as a stock versus the Chesapeake fish, Hudson River fish, they had a little smaller head, tail, and a much heavier built body. They were more football design. The big Chesapeake fish we used to catch, which you don't see that many anymore on the real giant side, they had huge heads, 19-inch tails, and big bodies. Like, I sent you some of the photos of those big fish. They were all Chesapeake fish.
Yeah.
You know, and they're enormously built fish. The Hudson River fish aren't built like that, but they're heavier bodied. So if they were shorter, they would, you know, they could weigh a lot because they're very, very rotund, round.
Right.
Which I found when they get bigger, like when you get into the bigger fish, they're much heavier built, which was pretty cool. But they were never those long, big tail, big head fish that the Chesapeake produced, you know. But they intermingle as they go through life, you know.
No
So,
doubt about it.
Even with you, when I was at the challenge
Yeah.
a couple of years ago up there, those fish were little, fat, stocky fish.
Yeah, they were. They were, exactly. Yeah, hopefully we'll get another good run this year with the guys.
But you need now those fish to come downriver, right?
What is that,
They're all
Billy?
going up to spawn now.
Yeah, they're all going up without a doubt. They're waiting up there in Troy, New York. I have a couple of references up there. They let me know the day where they're going to be spawning. It happens. It's like, remember, guys, you got 7 or 8 males versus 1 female sits on the bottom, and they shoot up and down. And every time one shoots up, another one moves in. When he goes up, another one moves in. There's a lot of eggs to be slaughtered that day, my friends.
I've actually watched that happen.
Yeah, tell me, Billy.
Actually, I met a guy up in the river about 40 years ago, and he used to take me up into the back rivers up there, and it would be 1 big bass, female, and a bunch of smaller bass.
Yeah.
And they would be rolled just like the carp do in the spring, same type of deal. And you're like, wow, look at that. That was pretty impressive. And that was fully fresh water.
Yeah, that is an amazing sight. I've seen it myself. Guys send me videos. Billy, it's nothing but the water's just white water on top where it would be glass.
It boils with them.
Yeah, it boils with them without a doubt. And quite an amazing thing going on. You know that when a lot of these fish leave and the eggs are all laying there, you know you have striped bass that eat their own kind, man. They eat eggs. They go around. But there's so many millions and millions and millions and millions of eggs that doesn't really affect them. But hopefully we'll get a good season. We'll get some good spawnies out there, and hopefully that'll build on the future for the rest of us.
That would be nice.
Mike Kish is asking Billy, where does Billy live? New Jersey, Connecticut, Long Island? Not specifically.
I live on Long Island, but I fished everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have fished everywhere, Billy. You've got some great stories all the way from boat fishing to pier fishing to ground pier fishing to beaches to jetties to swimming pools to everything. You've fished everywhere, Billy.
There's fish, we're fishing.
Here's a question.
You know, sometimes you realize the level fisherman you are when you fish. Like I went down to a lake with a friend of mine, and they stocked it with trout a couple of days before, whatever. So it's kind of a nasty day. The water was kind of murky. I'm not a trout fisherman, but to me, fish are fish. So we go down to the lake, and no one's catching a thing. Yeah. So this young kid next to me, big kid, he's telling me how good he is. He fishes the lake. He hasn't caught a fish either. So I said, how many fish have you caught today? He goes, ton. So I see a cormorant, and he dives down. He comes up with a fairly big trout, which I didn't know he could eat a trout that big. This was like 15-inch long trout. He eats them, and he's only about 50, 60, yards. So he goes down and gets another one. So I'm looking. This lake is very shallow. It's like a foot and a half, 2 foot deep all the way around, except for this one area. Because when the bird dived down, there wasn't a big commotion in the water. And I thought about it. I was like, that has to be like a lot deeper. So I cast, and I kept hitting a foot and a half, 2 foot, until it dropped free fall. So it was a deep cut. I took 5 big trout on 5 consecutive casts in a row, and no one else caught a fish. And the one guy goes to me, he goes, oh, you're really good at this. I said, actually, this is my first time ever fishing here. He goes, oh, you got lucky. I said, no luck about it. I found where those fish were. That bird helped, and I paid attention. And that was just, and I tell that story because that has nothing to do with catching the trout. That has to do with you have to be aware of what the hell's going on around you. And I knew by the way that bird dived, that water had to be much deeper. Otherwise, a foot in the water getting a trout, there would have been a huge commotion in the water, and it wasn't. They didn't figure it out, and that's good fishermen are very aware. They pay attention to detail.
I like the part where, can you imagine being a fisherman and going up to Billy the Greek and going, hey, you got lucky. Billy must have been like, what do you mean I got lucky, buddy? I found the fish, all right? Take it easy. Now go back there and put a worm on your hook and go fishing.
Yeah, it was kind of cute. He had no idea who I was.
Can you imagine, man? That's pretty cool. But, people learn. People learn, whether it's learning that you are Billy the Greek or through your help, they do learn something. Guys, again, overhead, I'm going to put on. These are the 3 giveaways today, not just 1, but 3. We got an Outcast lure, a pencil, fat bottom there, skinny top. You can toss this a mile. This is the 2 ounce. These are the ones I use in my competition, but I use the 3 ounce for that competition, specially made for the Montauk Striper Challenge. That's Outcast Lures. It's a quality lure, guys. Quality. You pay for good product. This is quality. I'm going to tell you again. Lawson Lures, another quality product. Lawson made his name with these gliders. I always say I'm going to keep one. One day I will keep one. And we also have another Outcast Lures. Now, whoever gets is a little damage here in the package. That's because the treble hook had hooked up there. And me, like a maniac, I had to get it off, and I didn't do it right, and I ripped it. And I made this big hole. But other than that, I can assure you this lure has never been used. Beautiful metal lip lure there, dressed up as a mackerel a little bit. And that's a 3 ounce lure. These are great products, what you're looking at, all in the giveaway tonight. 1 lucky winner. Let's go, let's go. And again, going back to the Montauk Striper Challenges are happening 16th, 17th, and 18th in Montauk. There are 4 bonus boxes left. That's it. Once they're gone, they're gone. And then we have 3 weeks later on Island Beach State Park, 24-mile stretch, Barnegat Lighthouse on the Island Beach State Park side, all the way up to Manasquan Inlet on the Point Pleasant side, which is pretty much Island Beach State Park over there. 25 miles. We're going to do all the same stuff we do in Montauk, except for the treasure hunt. Maybe next year we'll incorporate that. There is a lot of work that's being done as we speak to get everything set. The party at Hooks. Again, a drink and an appetizer for all the people that join. It's going to be a great time. Make sure you show up. Super, super time. Okay, going back to, go ahead, honey.
Oh, we have MP33D asking Billy, or saying, Billy carried a bass across Montauk Highway once from Argyle Pond to the canal. LOL, true story. Would be good to hear that one, Bill.
Let's go, Bill.
That is a good story. You know, I was looking for bunker, and across from Argyle Lake where I live, there's the canal is salt water, and it goes under the street and makes like a pool, and the freshwater lake has a little waterfall that rolls over into it. So I'm looking for bunker, and there was no bunker in the canal, so sometimes they're trapped in that little lagoon area there. I'm looking, I see a fish, a big fish, and the water's a little murky, so it's swimming along the wall very slowly, and it's on the deep. And the water's not real deep there, maybe 5 to 6 feet. And the fish is deep down. I can make it out it's a big fish, but I can't make out exactly what it is. And it looks like it has a black looking fish right next to its head, swimming with it. So I'm watching. It swims in a circle around this place, and I wait. About 10 minutes later, the fish comes right by again, the same spot. I was like, yeah, I could tell it was a bass. I was like, that's very strange. So I run back to the truck. I get a bigger rod with a treble hook. And as the fish passes me, I didn't try to snag it to hurt it. I just lifted the treble lightly because there was a lot of strange looking stuff on the side of its face. And I catch it. Well, I didn't snag the fish at all. There was a ton of braid wrapped around its head. And the black thing was a big black mag darter, purple bottom. And the treble hook on the back, all three hooks closed its mouth. Literally, it couldn't open its mouth. And the other treble was stuck in the back side of its gill. So I was like, oh man, this poor fish. So I get it up, and it's a big fish. Fish is like 43, 44-inch fish. I get it up, I cut all the braid off, I take the plug, I still have the plug, and I carry the fish across the canal and let him go on the other side into the salt water. I figured he had a tough time. I let him have a better life. And then I passed going to work the next morning. There's like 4 guys fishing in the lake with surf rods. And I busted out laughing. I was like, someone must have saw me cross the highway and think I caught that bass in the lake. And they were all there trying to bass fish in the lake. They had no idea I caught this fish in the little pool in the back there. But he must have got wounded, and he came in there to be safe so he wouldn't get eaten or killed. But I don't know who lost him, but he had a lot of braid.
That's good, Billy. I love to hear these stories. I know this was the second time I heard this, and every time I hear it, it's an interesting story. But all your stories are interesting. So put that back, honey.
Oops.
I was just about to read that.
Yeah. Something happens where all of a sudden it decides to go away.
And it goes away, and it went away.
Oh, boy. Hold on.
Okay. That's all right. So, yeah. Billy, we're going to have a question coming in for you. We were just about to get it. And is it going to come up, honey?
Yeah, ask some questions.
There it is. There it is. All right, so I got one coming in from Mario Gandini. Okay. Mug 'em up, Bucktails. What's up, Mario? Good to see you on the show again. Mario's been a spoof member since the very, very beginning when we were 10 on here. Mario Gandini, what is Billy's favorite profile and color on a bucktail he likes? Or does he carry a variety of profile bucktails? How does he fish a bucktail for success? So basically the 2 questions are, what is Billy's favorite profile and color on the bucktail? And how does he fish a bucktail for success?
That's way too simplistic for me, so I'll break it down a little bit. I carry at least 5 or 6 different head designs, and I carry them for a definite reason, and in increments of 1/4 ounce and up. In other words, not 1/4 ounce bucktails. I don't fish them that light the way I fish. But what I'm looking for, it depends on the tide and the bait, and if I'm fishing top, middle, or bottom. And when I'm fishing a bridge, I definitely prefer an arrowhead, not a bullet head, an arrowhead. The ones Andrus used to make, and you can't get them no more. They cut the water very sharp and clean and come in straight. If my preference on the bottom is always a round ball, and always with a 90-degree hook. A lot of the new lures have a 60-degree hook, and they sweep differently. So there's so much you can do with a bucktail. If you're a bucktail maker, you know. So, first of all, every one of my bucktails has a minimum of an 8/0 hook. And the reason, because I only fish bucktails with 50-pound mono, period. And the reason I fish that heavy is because you can do stuff with 50-pound test that's impossible to do with braid. And the bottom line is, how long can you stay in the strike zone, and how can you present it where it floats in naturally or turns? So for arguments, if you're fishing the bottom, and especially for short, let's break it down. Beach fishing, open beach fishing, is not bucktailing the way I bucktail. It's a bucktail you're using as a lure, and they, don't get me wrong, they're deadly and they work, but you're basically reeling the wrong way. And what I mean by that is you're going deep to shallow. So it's very hard. You can't fish a heavy lure. There's a lot you can't do. You don't have a strong current. So beach fishing a bucktail is almost like you're using the bucktail more as a lure, and they're very effective. So don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But a bucktail is at its very best at night in a strong current. And when you think about it, how many lures can you fish in a 3-knot tide effectively? So as soon as you have deeper water with a strong tide, you can get rid of like 80% of your lures. They don't fish good in it. But a bucktail fishes at its best in that type of condition. So head design matters. So if you want to stay higher, and look at your head designs. You have bullet head, arrowhead, ball, Spro style design, smile and bill design. And smile and bills are okay. You got jetty casters. So there's a lot of profiles. What are you looking for in your profile? Well, small bait, you want a thin profile lure because it represents it. If you want it smaller, you want red in it, like red head, top of the lure red trailer, bucktail, whatever. It shortens when the lure sinks at night. If you're in more than 10 feet of water, the red completely disappears in the water column. So your profile to the fish, if for arguments, if you got a 3-knot tide with 1.5-inch bait that the fish are feeding on, you can't fish a 3-ounce, 7-inch bucktail. So you have to figure out how to make a 1 or a 2-ounce bucktail look smaller. That's how it's achieved, by profile, color, and weight. So there's a lot involved there, and I could talk about bucktailing for a week. In fact, I really think about, everybody wants me to write a book on bucktail, and I definitely will. But when you really get into it and you understand bucktails, you got to understand what a bucktail does, because fishing bucktails at the high end, you're fishing them in your mind because you can't see them. So the first thing you want to know is, where is the structure and where are the fish related to that? Now, one guy standing in an area, if he has the right angle, he literally can catch all the fish, and everyone around him will not get a bite when you're in a current. And that's a big deal. And when you understand that, you put yourself in a position to be at the angle. No one can mimic that, because the other guy's going to be further, longer, shorter. You're not going to get the sweep. And a bucktail does something no other lure does. As it sinks down into the tide to the bottom, when it gets to its zenith of line where it's taut, it makes a U-turn. It goes from facing forward in the tide to making a complete turn, because the line's taut, and it spins the bucktail head into the tide, and then it rises into the tide. So you hit the bottom, it wiggles for a second, and then it rises up in the water column. There is no better way to catch a fish. If you can put that in front of a fish, you basically caught him. So your position relevant to where the structure and the fish are, and that means what? How fast the tide's going, your head design, how fast does it sink, how much hair you have on your bucktail, how you get it to turn. So that's getting, like, I don't want to get too far into the weeds with beginners that don't understand all that, but you should have multiple lures and multiple head designs, because they each perform a different function. And as you learn that, you'll see it. So if you don't know what your bucktail does, go to shallow water, anywhere. Go to a stream. Go anywhere where there's a current, and you can see what your bucktail does. And you'll see bullet head, arrowhead cuts the water clean and sharp. Smile and bill rocks more. The old Upperman bucktails, which were the first bucktails, they rock like a little butterfish or porgy in the water. So everything has its purpose. You know, and a lot of people tell me, oh, this lure, this mimics that. A bucktail moves so slow, and you hardly have to do a thing in a tide. Just let the tide take it and keep the slack out of the line. And there's and you'll see that there is no better art form than a bucktailer. When you're a high-end bucktailer, you have something to be proud of because that's a real art form
Yes.
and one of the best ways to catch bass, in my opinion.
Yes. No doubt about it, Billy. 100% correct. A lot of us follow that mentality. It was Bill Wetzel who told me, what the hell are you doing, when I cast it out, and I was reeling it back like it was a rocket. And that was pretty much 10 years ago. And I got to learn to fish with a bucktail and a lot more lures with him and a lot more lures with a lot of the people helping out. No doubt about it.
Professor asking Billy, live eel or live line bunker?
Well, that depends. Like at night, I'll take the eel all day long. You know, of the 10 biggest fish ever caught, 7 of them were caught on eels. So that kind of answers that question.
Sure
But
does.
you know, bunker are a really good bait for big fish, but so are eels. The difference is like eels are at their best at night. Now you can definitely catch fish in broad daylight, and we've all done it. But when you think of really big fish, what's the real magic of catching big fish? Your ability to fool them. And to fool them means natural presentation. That's more important than anything else. So if you're fishing an eel at night, the chance of that bass being off guard and finding something wrong is slim. So I won't get into all the detail, but in a fast current, the longer your leader length makes a difference. Do you use a fish finder, a 3-way rig higher off the bottom? All that is up to you as a fisherman to learn. But eels take a tremendous amount of big fish,
Yeah.
and so do bunker. But the difference with the bunker is you really today, unlike years ago, a lot of these schools of bunker no longer have very big fish on them. So if you have them, for arguments, we'll just throw an out of proportion example. You have a mile of bunker, there only might be a 50-yard spot where there's big fish, and the rest has just normal fish.
Sure.
So you really have to work through it because a lot of times with bunker in an ocean, you don't have structure. You just have bait with fish. Whereas eel fishing, you can fish over structure, and nothing gets better than that. That's why, like in Connecticut, Montauk, and stuff, and the race, you're going over exact structure where fish are stacked up to feed in an exact location.
Yeah.
And your chances of pulling a big fish out of there are way better, way better.
Billy, also I want to say to Juan Gonzalez, thank you so much, Juan, for that super chat. We can always use the help, guys. That's how we do it. We take super chats, just donations, and we save that all up, and we use it on the challenges. Nothing is used on me and my wife. We haven't gone on vacation anywhere other than fishing trips, and I'm sure she loves that even more than I do. But yeah, also I want to read up. Go down, back up to Wormway, please. Go up. The whole thing. There it is. Wormway has been a member for 17 months for the Spoof Crew. Congratulations, Wormway. He's got a question for you, Billy, and that question is, Billy, what's your best striped bass cooking recipe?
I don't know. I don't eat them and I don't cook them. I trade them for a hamburger.
There you go.
That's it,
that
buddy.
answers that.
That answers
Well,
that.
One other thing. Listen, getting back to the guy just before with the bunker and the eels.
Yeah.
Because this is pretty predominantly surf, and I was a little more boat there. But in the fall and the spring, you should at night, if you got the shot, you got a decent calm ocean, you should put a live eel in and walk and cast it like a lure. Your chances of catching a big fish are better because they don't always hit lures. You know, they have to be more actively feeding to hit a lure, but they'll take a live eel and reel them in like a freshwater worm.
That's it, baby. It's the
You
best
got a
way
good
to
shot
go.
that way. A live eel's a good bait at night to walk a calm beach and cast and reel in.
That's so
Real
sweet
good.
sounding.
Yep.
No doubt about it. Any other questions coming in, honey?
Let's see. Real talk. When fishing a bucktail, what knot do you prefer?
Well, I fish mono all the time, so I only use one knot. It's a Palomar knot, and there's a reason for that. A lot of guys, if you put a twist knot on, If there's paint on the eye of the hook when they dip them, if that if it's a big, and it's always a big fish, if it's a real big fish that puts a lot of pressure that you're not used to, and that line cuts through the paint and slips, you can pull the knot. And the way you'll know it is when you lose your fish and you reel your line in, and you think you broke it, you have a little curly cue on the end, and that means you didn't break your line. You pulled the knot. Yeah. So all of us that fish bucktails almost exclusively fish Palomar. You couldn't break that knot on a bed. You'd straighten the hook out first.
Good stuff, Billy. Yeah, Billy, this week we're going to be going out on Tuesday out in Raritan Bay. We're going to be with Captain Harry Brown. That's Magoo Charters. We're going to be out there. Me, my wife. I know Chris Ploth won the other ticket, and Rick Hernandez won the other one. That'll be coming up. Yeah, that'll be this Tuesday.
There's big fish in Raritan right now.
Yeah. And Harry's been feeding us, making us salivate every day.
Yeah, there's big fish there. You should do well.
And I can't wait. I can't wait for that trip. Obviously, and nothing against boat fishermen. Boat fishing is freaking great. I love it. Whenever I get a chance, I go on a boat, and I have a great time. But as far as the surf fisherman is concerned, we will always have the hardest time catching the bigger fish. We're not in deep water. We got to hope that these fish go from the deep water to come into the shallows looking for food, and hopefully our lures will be passing them or our bait is in front of them to get a shot at these big fish. It feels very, very gratifying when you do catch a fish from the surf, especially today, where, as Billy said earlier, you're not going to be pounding the 40s and 50s like they used to. Yes, the dream is alive, certainly. You do have a chance to catch one of these fish one day, no doubt about it. And when you do, it's going to be one of the most gratifying feelings in your life. So again, going back to Harry Brown, we'll see you on Tuesday. Can't wait for that trip. We're going to make a video on that and let everybody in on the good times that we're going to have hunting the ultimate fish, the striped bass, my friends. Billy, remember your boat trips, Billy?
Plenty of them. Yeah, it's funny you say, like, because I fish boat, bridge, and beach, and there's something. My version of life is this: the beach is the worst place in the world to catch striped bass. But as far as if you're looking for numbers and big fish, because there's the least amount and you're limited to what you can do. That's one of the reasons it's one of the most rewarding when you do. And even to this day, when I've had stunning days on my boat or on the bridge, I go to the beach all the time. There is just something about catching a big fish in the surf that's, I'm not one of them guys that fish a boat or fish any way you want. But for me personally, catching a really big fish on the beach is just something special. It's something different, because it's much harder. They're not there all the time. Right. On the boat, I can find them. I can chase them down. On the bridge, I can see them. But on the beach, it's much, much different. And like you really get some feel of accomplishment when you catch a really big bass on the surf. It's just something. It's hard to explain, but it's really different. And you see that big fish come up, and you see the distance between its dorsal fin and its tail, and it turns, and you're like, holy shit, look at the size of that thing. Yeah. Your heart's pumping 100 miles an hour. Never thought in the world.
And you pull it out, and it's a 23-inch fish. But anyway.
Yeah. But it really is. It's pretty impressive.
It really is, Billy. No doubt about it. You said it, man. You said it perfectly. When it first rises, you see it come to the top, and you see that big dorsal fin or a big head or a big tail. And it's very, very exciting, man. It's so excitement-filled. The only thing, there's two things running through your head. I hope I get the fish in, and I hope it doesn't break off.
Yeah, I don't think like that.
Yeah, I know you don't, Billy. But you could trust me in the old days with my 4-0 hook on there.
Let's see how big he is.
No doubt about it, Billy.
Church Wood is asking Billy, do you see another moratorium in the coming seasons?
It's a possibility. And I'll tell you why. I've gone to a bunch of those meetings, and they're very concerned about the spawn of these fish. There's 6 years in a row the Chesapeake hasn't done well, and 4 years in a row neither has the Hudson. So they're very concerned about that. They seem to think that cold winters produce way better spawns. So we had a cold winter this year. Hopefully that'll work. And the biggest problem we're running into right now is that the last year class that was productive will be moving into slot at the end of this year, going into next year. And there's not a lot of fish behind them to back it up. So we'll see what happens, but there's a lot of politics involved. It's tough. Like I went to a bunch of these meetings, and without really getting involved with the politics and all the BS involved, what I saw the most evident was that everyone was interested in their point of view. None of them were interested in the fish's point of view. Like my version of life was, if you save these fish, all of us can catch them. Yeah. So to me, we need to do whatever we need to do to bring the stock back up into form. And if it works, that's good. Because if it doesn't work, they will. The problem is that if it doesn't meet the standards, and they test it every 2 years, if something happens in between the 2 years, they have to shut it down because they underestimated or overestimated, So there's a possibility they could shut this down. And we've talked about this when I was on Poseidon show last time.
Yes.
We need the recreational fishermen to get involved, and they're having a hard time doing it. They talk a lot. They always have excuses. They got to go shopping with their wife or cut the lawn or paint the house. But if you want to keep catching striped bass, you need to show up, because all the other interests are going to show up. And it's as simple as that. So if the recreational guys don't show up in numbers, then everybody else but us wins. And we have numbers way outweighing the rest of them. We just don't show up. So hopefully we will. I mean, the ultimate goal is to save the striped bass so we can all catch them, because we all love it. Yeah.
Unfiltered Fishing says they'll shut it down when there's no more fish in the commercial slot. Yeah, that would suck. That would really suck. I would never want this to happen. I don't know what I talk on my show week after week. Well, they didn't open it up yet this week. Maybe next week, but
that's what you would say.
Yeah, that's what I'd be saying. Fish in the Atlantic. What's up, buddy? We'll be on his boat June 13th. Good to see you here. He says straight facts, no doubt about it. Let's see what happens, man, in the next coming years after this cold season that we had.
It's going to be a good spawn.
Yeah, if it's a good spawn, if it's not, if it comes back a little bit, we wish for a lot of things in life, but this is one thing that.
But even if it's not, they can adjust it, because when you get involved and you realize how this all works, it's like, for arguments, every half inch is X amount of fish in length. So if the limit's 28 to 31 now, every half inch up or down increases or decreases the volume of fish caught. Every day the season stays open or closed does the same thing. So there's a lot you can adjust, but it depends what they want to do. One of the biggest things they need to adjust is they need these fish to spawn before people catch them. Let them spawn. Once they're spawned,
right,
at least the eggs are in the water,
I get
so we'll see.
I get it. All right, so we have that giveaway tonight. It's 8:30 right now. It's running a little late. Ooh. Obviously, we're going to run late because Billy the Greek was on tonight. But, honey, you want to do that giveaway right now?
Okay, let's see.
Get Billy, up the spin. Billy, hang out a second.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to do that giveaway now. Guys, good luck.
All right.
Good luck, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you entered. She's getting it up on the spinning wheel.
Okay, and drum roll is.
And the drum roll is.
The winner is.
Oh! Read it off, honey.
That tug is the drug.
That tug is the drug. Move that screen out of the way. You get your 10-second countdown if you're on. I can't see, honey. The screen is in the way. You see the screen?
Sorry.
Yeah. The tug is the drug. Here we go. 10.
Yeah.
The tug is the drug. 9, 8, 7. How about it? The tug is the drug.
Oh, right here, he says.
Right
Thank
here.
goodness.
We got you, buddy. You win it. You win tonight's giveaway. You win the 3 lures here. Let's give that overhead again.
Wow.
Great package here you got, buddy. Outcast Lures. You got Larson Lures glider here. Chartreuse right there. Outcast Lures again. The smaller pencil. Can still cast us a mile. Good stuff here. Congrats on that win. You're looking at about $100 in loss here, if not more. But it is what it is. Let's go, let's go. Congratulations to the Tug Man himself. Tug is the drug, right?
And Liberty or Death is asking how many boxes left.
Boxes is 4 left, buddy. 4 boxes left.
He says he bought the 5th to the last. Oh.
Yep. Oh, well, then you're in, buddy. Then you're in. But if you don't, if you didn't be in, now is a good time to be in. There's 4 boxes left. The boxes are going to be worth $250 a pop this year. There's going to be some really, really good stuff in them. I've increased the value of those boxes yearly on every single challenge. I don't know what I'm going to do next year. I'm going to have to start putting in diamond necklaces and all that good stuff to make it increase in value. Because I can't fit any more lures in these boxes anyway. But, yeah, all the donators this year, including Luke Fishing, who was on earlier. Thank you for that donation. Luke, you are the man. Luke is a contributor or a donator or a sponsor for the Montauk Striper Challenge. He'll be sending us over different flags that he's designed. He sent me many pictures of the ones he's made. And you'll get a package of that in your boxes. At the Montauk Striper Challenge.
Funny. Real talk saying the best lure would be a live eel.
Yeah, there you go.
Delco Joe, he wants a gold watch in there.
Yeah, Joe.
Okay.
Delco Joe. Joe, we got to get you back on the show soon enough. I wanted to talk about your tournament that went by. That was absolutely magnificent. I kept up on it on Instagram, and lots of fish down the Delaware. Maybe you could tell the guys to take a run down there still. I don't know how they're doing down there. I still see guys catching them up. The Delaware River is an excellent place to catch striped bass. I know during Delco Joe's tournament, they were whaling those fish out. I watched Wombat. I watched Lure Walker. Both of those guys pulled up good fish on the river. Good times, good fun. I saw the cookouts maybe next year. Not maybe. I'm probably going to be attending next year. Everything's in the clear for that. No doubt about it, Joe. I'll be there. I promise you that. Other than that, let's get back to Billy for a few minutes. Billy, anything else you'd like to say to anybody out there?
Yeah, go fishing. The fish are here.
Yeah.
There you go, buddy.
Get out, go fishing.
There you go, guys. So you have it straight from Billy. The fish are here. As you can see earlier, he was talking about it. Just give him a quick rundown, Billy, on the sun and the heat.
Yeah. Well, listen, night bites sometimes real good this time of year, but you got to find that warm water. Just think common sense. Don't outthink yourself.
There you go.
Where's the water shallow? Warms up in the day, pushes out. That outgoing tide toward the end, it's nice and warm. That's where you're going to find the most fish.
God bless.
And you got to move around. You got to move. You can't stay glued in your spot.
Let's go. Let's go. You heard it live from Billy. Billy, we thank you so much. You've been on the show and a big part of Mr. Poseidon's rise, and the rise is about 2 inches off the ground. I got about 40 more feet to go. But I appreciate everything
I want to
that
thank
you do.
and your wife. She does a great job on that.
Yeah, she does. Thank you.
Billy.
Thank you, Billy.
Thanks so much for coming on.
That's right. There she
I have
is.
a great time when I'm on. It's good.
Love it.
Yeah.
Get out there and fish hard.
Thank you. Thank you,
will,
Billy.
we will.
Guys, thank you for coming to the show this week. Congratulations to, what was it again, that one?
The tug is the drug.
The Tug is the Drug. Congratulations. Get in touch with me on Instagram. Leave me your address there, and we'll get everything together. I know we screwed up packages last week's and the weeks before. We sent to the
Switched.
wrong guy, so
Oops. We'll fix
gonna
it.
have to fix that. Guys, thank you so much. Ronnie M, let's go, let's go. Cheers, buddy.
All right.
God
good
bless
night,
everybody. Be surfing
everybody.
fishing. What's
Good
going
night.
on? Billy, thank you, and I'll see you guys all.
See you, Billy.
See you on the
Peace out,
return.
everybody.
Definitely.
Woohoo.
Let's go, guys. See you next week.